Hi boys and girls. We're going to start lesson 12.2. So today we're going to be talking all about number lines. And so on a number line, I'm going to show you where you can put fractions or how you can find fractions, how you can locate fractions, and also how you can locate and describe decimals on a number line. So let's see if we can jump right in and see if we can do this. How can you locate points on a number line? So on a number line, you're going to see ticks. When you see a tick, you have to figure out, what does that tick represent? Well, in this case, my number line ends with 1. So everything before it is a fraction. Everything before it is less than 1. So I'm going to think to myself, okay, this seems to be broken into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, right? So if I were to write that as a fraction, even the 1, it's in fourths. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Okay? So each fraction represents fourths. How can you locate points on a number line? So you can use the number line not just to locate fractions, but also to locate decimals. And remember, when we learned in the last lesson, a decimal is just another way to name a fraction. So right here, if I see this decimal, this says 1/10. I write the fraction 1/10. 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. They're the same exact thing, so you would find them in the same exact place on a number line. Now, mixed numbers and decimals can name the same points on a number line too. So here I have 1 in 100th, 1 in 200ths, 1 in 300ths, and 1 in 400ths. So this is it as a fraction, as a mixed number, and down here is how I would write it as a decimal. These are the same exact points. They name the same exact thing on a number line. How would I locate this? 45 hundredths on this number line. Let's look at where it begins. This number line starts with 40 hundredths and ends with 50 hundredths. So how many parts is this number line broken into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts. So where would I put 45? Well, I could just count from 40 to 50. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. So right here would be 45 hundredths. Could I write that as a decimal? Absolutely. 45 hundredths. Remember that when we write our hundredths, if it's in the hundreds, it's 2 numbers after the decimal point. How would I locate this fraction, 7/10, on this number line? How many parts is it broken into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I would find the 7th part. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. Right here. Can I write it as a fraction? 7/10. Only one number after the decimal point because it's in the tenths place. 4/10. Now, why is this 4/10? It's not a fraction this time. They're showing this as a decimal. It's the same thing. So I'm going to find 1, 2, 3, 4. I looked ahead. There's 4 parts to this number line. So I have 4/10. Could I write it as a fraction? Absolutely. Oops, upside down. 32 hundredths. Okay, let's see where we start and begin. We start with 30 hundredths to 40 hundredths. So where do you think 32 hundredths would go? 31 hundredths, 32 hundredths. As a fraction, as a decimal. And here it is as a fraction. It is the same point on the number line. They mean the same thing. Draw a number line to represent both the decimal and the fraction for 8/10. So they didn't write it as a number this time. They put it in word form. I can still find that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8/10. Here's my fraction. Don't forget my decimal, 8/10. So I did my decimal, I did my fraction. Draw a number line to represent the fraction decimal for 52 hundredths. Okay, we have 50 hundredths to 60 hundredths, so 51 hundredths, 52 hundredths would be right here. I did my fraction, I wrote my decimal, 52 hundredths. I know my marker's a little bit thick. We'll see if we can find some thinner markers for next time. Okay, let's see. This is in your practice book, but we could do one or two of these, and if you want to continue on with these in your practice book, that would be great extra help. So what would E represent on this number line? So this is on a long number line, but look here. It's between 0 and 1, and right before it is 5/10. So what do you think E would be? I think E would equal 6/10 or 6/10, right? Let's look at H. Okay, now this comes after 1. It's between 1 and 2. It's right before 1 and 5/10. What would come right before 1 and 5/10? 1 and 4/10. That's a decimal. Now this is a mixed number because it comes after the whole number 1. 1 and 4/10. Let's do one more. That's H. Let's look for F. Here's F right here. So F comes between 1 and 30 hundredths and 1 and 40 hundredths. It's 2 before 1 and 35 hundredths. So 1 and 31, 1 and 32, 1 and 33 hundredths. How would I write that as a decimal? 1 and 33 hundredths. How do I write it as a fraction? 1 and 33 hundredths. You guys could go to your book and see what you think G would represent. Okay, let's see. We'll do a few of these. I'm not going to do every single one. So let's look for Q. Here's Q right here. I can see some mixed numbers on this number line. So this one is between 3 and 8/10 and 4 and 8/10. 3 and 8/10. 3 and 9/10. 3 and 10/10. But Mrs. Faciano, I know 10/10 makes a whole. So Q really is, I would say that point is 4. Let's look at T. So we have 4, 4 and 1/10, 4 and 2/10. Let's see. 4 and 2/10, 4 and 3/10, 4 and 4/10, 4 and 5/10, 4 and 6/10, 4 and 7/10. That's right, 4 and 8/10. So I was right. T is 4 and 2/10. That's a mixed number, so I'm going to write 4 and 2/10. All right. You guys can look and see if you can figure out where R is. You could pause the video. Where S is and where V is. So if you pause the video and then you guess it, write it down somewhere, and let's see. So we had 4 and 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. So ours should be 4 and 5/10, and that's as a decimal and a fraction. Okay, now we're between 4 and 4 and 10/10. Okay, we can do this. S would be 4 and 1/10, 4 and 2/10, 4 and 3/10, or 4 and 3/10, 4 and 4/10, 4 and 5/10, 4 and 6/10, 4 and 7/10, or 4 and 7/10, decimal and fraction. So there was all of these. How can you locate points on a number line? What fractions or decimals do these points on the number line show? Choose the decimals and fraction from the box to label the number lines. So down here we have a whole bunch of fractions. Where would I put these? I see an easy one right here. So I see 50 hundredths, right? And I know 50 is between 1 and 100, right? So I see it, I think it's going to go right here, right? Because we would have, well, I'm going to put it here, 50 hundredths. What would go right here? Now I look at all my choices, only one of these choices is less than a whole. All the other ones are mixed numbers, greater than 1. You see this one right here? 1/10, right? So it's gonna go right here. Less than 1. Okay, what would go right after this? 1 and 56 hundredths, 1 and 1/10, 1 and 59 hundredths, or 1 and 4/10. If you said 1 and 1/10, you got it. What would go right here? Let's see, 1 and 1/10, 1 and 2/10, 1 and 3/10, 1 and 4/10 right there. So now, let's see, we've used these. So we're left with 1 and 56 hundredths and 1 and 59 hundredths. I think those are gonna fit down here at the bottom. Because I'm looking and I see 1 and 50 hundredths to 1 and 60 hundredths. Doesn't it make sense that these would be used at the bottom? So I would think that 1 and 56 hundredths, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would go right here. I know it's hard to read. And then right here would be 1 and 59 hundredths, right? 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 and 59 hundredths. So we got them all. All right, quick review. Determine whether each is true or false. Complete the table. Well, guys, I can look at this first one, and if I can say it, I should know if this is true or false. When I read this is not 9/10. I know this because my 9 is in my hundredths place, so this would be 9 hundredths, and 9 hundredths and 9/10 are not the same. I would say I know how to read 45 hundredths and 45 hundredths. 45 hundredths and 45 hundredths are equal. 1 and 1, not 10th, because this 1 is in the hundredths place. 1 and 100th is not equal to 1 and 1/10. 67 hundredths is equal to 67 hundredths. When I say them, they're the same thing. 5 and 5 hundredths, 5 and 50 hundredths. When I said those two numbers, were they the same? No, they weren't. That's false. Write the equivalent or fraction or decimal and choose the decimals and fractions from the boxes. Okay, so here's 7, and this says 9/10. You see it right here, don't you? 7 and 9/10. 1 and 100th. Can you find it up here? I did. Right here. 1 and 100th. Right here, my 9 is in my hundredths place, so I would say 79 hundredths. Can you find it up here? 79 hundredths. If you said this, you're correct. All right, 3 more to go. 1 and 1/10. You see it? You got it. 1 and 1/10 right here. 7 and 9 hundredths. Do you see 7 and 9 hundredths? I'm looking for a decimal. If you think it's this one, you're right. 7 and 9 hundredths. And so finally, 1 and 11 hundredths. 1 and 11 hundredths. Now there's two that look awfully close. Do these two look a lot alike? How do I say this one? 11 and 11 hundredths. 1 and 11 hundredths. So it would be this one right here. No, we don't use that one. And that are fractions and decimals on a number line. So I want you now to go on to your Pearson and Vision Math, and I want you to do the 4 parts of lesson 12.2. Good luck.